Mad Fool's done.
Hey, folks, thanks for tuning into the BAMF podcast. This is our Thursday Writers Chat, and we just got a whole bunch of guests today. Let me drop the image for a second so we can see everyone's beautiful face. Over here in the lower corner of the Brady Bunch Crate is Eric Bloat from Bloat Games. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing awesome. Thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, I appreciate you joining us from sunny Kentucky. I hope things are good out there.
Definitely, most definitely.
All right, cool. And our usual writers panel is Ryan Danks, right next to Eric. How you doing, Ryan?
Good. How are you?
Hanging in there. Walter Billiard is in our BAMF mobile unit right now, out and about. If you see him, he'll throw some T-shirts at you.
Or at least the patch for my hat.
Why does that do that?
Because it's a patch.
He has different goals he needs to fill. Sometimes he's representing BAMF. Sometimes he's representing his own brand as being a writer. Sometimes he has to represent the old school RPG on Twitch.
Dude,
So instead of switching hats, he just slaps a different patch on it.
Yeah, one hat, many patches.
I love how Jacob is like the press release person for your hats. He's telling
The
us
check is in the mail, bro. Check is in the mail.
I will take any money you send. I have a very small bank account right now.
Call me old-fashioned. I remember when patches were sewn on.
Yeah, back in the Boy Scouts, that's what we did. Needle and thread, buddy. And last but not least, our resident seamstress is J.R. Hanley, also a science fiction writer in his spare time. How are you doing, sir?
Doing good. Although those Velcro patches would have come in handy when I was going up and down the corporal private route.
Well, I was just going to ask that back when you were in the next boat over from me when Washington crossed the Potomac, right?
I was. It's cold.
Right on. Pointy hat and all. It was cold as a bitch.
Oh, they gave
Go
you.
ahead, Mike.
They must have liked you more.
Hey,
They did give me a hat.
Mike, we need music.
Thank you. This is very important. And I want to apologize, Eric. I don't know if you've experienced our musical intro now, but this is to assure all of our viewers and listeners that this is a high quality, high production value production. So just hang on 1 second. Okay. All right. Then this won't be, it's not as hard as the second time around, I promise. So here we go. Just like an intro from a 90s thriller TV show, maybe on Fox. Welcome to the BAMF podcast. Eric Bloat
Don't say that. That means they're going to cancel it.
That's true. So you better enjoy this podcast for all you can, folks, because who knows if we'll be here next week. Right now, I'm going to share the cover of Eric's latest book and give Eric a chance to tell us about it. This is Survive This, the Blackest Space. And look at that amazing Phil Long cover. Is that Phil Long work there?
Phil Stone. Phil Stone. Yeah.
Sorry. But damn, that looks. Tell us about this game. What's the rule set? What's the vibe? What are we doing here?
Sure. Well, Survive This is kind of it's our meshing of our favorite rules from the different D&D eras. It's pretty much it's an OSR game, but you'll find some stuff from 5th edition hidden in there, some stuff from 3rd edition, things like that. It's our the Bloat Games house rules, if you will. And what the Blackest Space is originally it came out under a different rule set, used the Blacks of Death rule set, which was like a core mechanic where you rolled a D20 and a D6 at the same time. And if you rolled a 1 or a 6 on your D6, you could either get a hindrance or a benefit. And it was something that we had published, and it just kind of got popular. And we kept having many of our followers ask us, when are you going to release this and the Survive This? They didn't want to go down the route of learning a new rule set. And so we finally made the conversion, and that is this, at least what you're seeing on your screen right now ends up being this. So it's, a full like 250 page game. That was originally its own thing, and now it's part of the Survive This universe, which means that it can be crossed over mechanically anyways with like Dark Places and Demigorgons, Vigilante City, Survive This Fantasy, and all those other wonderful games that we have. And so, yeah, that's where it stands at today. And then, yeah, Phil Stone absolutely killed the cover. He did the majority of the heavy lifting as far as interior art as well. We got some art in there from Bradley K. McDivitt just to spice things up. But Phil did about 99% of the art inside. and the whole game was written by Josh Palmer, who is my co-creator here at Bloat Games. So
nice. So what's the vibe here? I'm getting kind of aliens meets dungeon crawling vibes from the color. From the
that
cover.
is exactly what it is. Yeah, it very much so. It is not it's not like a Star Wars type game. It's more of an aliens, like hard science fiction type game. And then you have different playable races. You can play as robots. You can play as like a Narfang, which is like a cat folk. You can play as a Meyer Whip, which is what the big tentacle looking thing that you're seeing on the cover there. And the original concept of the game was how long can you survive in space when everything in space wants to kill you. So that's where this game came from, and kind of its goal and its intention is to make a very rugged dungeon crawling in space type of experience.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Hey, just out of curiosity, going off on a tangent, you mentioned some dice mechanics that kind of reminded me of Valor Knights, the whole boon hindrance thing. How close is Valor Knights to the Blackest Space?
Well, to the original Blackest Space, it's pretty close. In the original Blackest Space uses the same mechanics that the Blackest of Deaths used and that our game Scorch used. And then in like Valor Knights and the Monsters Are Heroes and Destination Uncharted, they use a slimmed down version of that rule set that appeared originally in the Blackest of Deaths.
Okay, cool. That's good to know. So if you can run one system, you can run the others. That could come
Yes,
in handy.
very very much. They can cross over. They're not 100% compatible, but they are. It's very easy to make it's much easier to run like Valor Knights in the Blackest Space together than it would have been to run Valor Knights and Survive This, one of our Survive This games.
Yeah.
So
JR in the private chat is talking about how much he admires that what he calls a beholder meets a hentai creature in the background.
yes, that actually was one of added by Phil Stone. When he drew it, I told him, I said, I just want kind of four. I gave him very light guidelines. I never want to as far as when working with artists, I never want to limit their imagination by pushing too much of mine onto them. And so I gave him, I said, I want there to be four heroes on the cover. I definitely want a Meyer Whip to be on the cover, and I want them to be surrounded on all sides by monsters. Go. And he sent me this, and I was just like, that is exactly what I was picturing, and just absolutely killed it. So yeah, it's great when you have an artist that you can give, and I'm sure Jacob can attest to this, that there's trust between the artist and the publisher, and you can give them stuff and let them either surprise you or sometimes let them totally nail what you were thinking.
Absolutely. Now I'm looking at the description of the Meyer Whips in the PDF right now. I really like them. They have this really inhuman appearance, but they're not known for diplomacy. They cannot lie. They always speak their mind and tend to have loud personalities. So that would be a pretty fun alien creature to play.
Yeah, they're kind of, as far as this game, they're definitely my favorite character class, which is why they make an appearance on the cover. I think the guys are super cool. In fact, there's another piece of art on the interior that shows them being a pilot under the pilot class, and they're kind of got a helmet on like the old 1944 World War II pilots would wear, and they're a lot of fun to play and to have in the game.
Oh, cool. It looks like a lot of fun. Jacob, you had the PDF?
Yeah, well, I followed the link and I just picked it up. I'm looking through it right now.
Eric, this is why you got to come back to our show, man. There's at least one sale every time you come on.
I know, right?
I am a huge fan of Eric. I mean, I've got this. I've got this. I got this. I got this. I'm a big fan of Bloat games. I get their books.
And they're such cute little books too. You can hold them in your hand like baseball cards. It's kind of nice.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I greatly appreciate all the support, and you guys are always seem to have my back on every project, and so I'm more than happy to come on and chat with you all about just about anything.
Well, we had so much fun playing Valor Knights last year. It was really stupid how much fun we had with that game. So it's a good time. Walt has rejoined us from a wild green space somewhere in New England. Are you okay there, sir?
Yeah. I got back to the house. I didn't want to disturb the dog, so came out, grabbed the laptop, came out on the porch.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I've gotten my Great Dane is not big enough where counter surfing has become a problem. Just the other day, she was a puppy, and now you're putting out stuff to bake cookies, and you're like, there was
where did the
right there.
cookies go? Yeah. My 70-pound Maligator gets on the fridge.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's a thing. But yeah, Eric, you make some really, really, really great games, bro. And like I don't know if I have everything that Jacob has, but I have a good 90% of it, and it's just it rocks on all cylinders because you conquer the one element that is a barrier to entry for most people writing games, and that's your stuff is fun.
Well, thank you. That is our number one thing we strive for is to make the games fun and accessible for longtime gamers and people who are new to gaming. That's kind of what we shoot for.
So that was actually one of the first games when I started playing somewhat recently was when they had me on for the Valor Knights. And as someone who didn't know much about anything, when I tried that with them, it was fairly easy to get.
You know, we should get back into that. I really liked having you play. And there's I got some new art of commission from J.E. Shields for like Beast Wars Transformers. I'm just trying to figure out a way to work.
It was definitely well done.
You thinking about a new era of Valor Knights there?
Yeah, well, I mean, here's my writing process. First, I worry about it a lot. Then I procrastinate a whole bunch. And then I have a drink or two one night and just say, fuck it. And I just write something. And then I edit that. And then that's what I wind up publishing. So I'm about stage 2 or 3 of that process right now. So speaking of writing process, what's yours, Eric? I'm assuming yours is more efficient than mine, but let's compare.
Well, mine is the never stop writing. That's kind of my goal. At any given time, if you look at the bottom of my screen on my computer, I'll have literally 10 or 12 Microsoft Word documents open, and if I get stuck at all, or if I have a hiccup where I got to stop and think about what I'm doing, or I just move to the next project and I keep going until I circle back around. And so a lot of people ask, because we at Bloat Games, we've been fortunate enough that we've put out quite a few games and quite a few products, and people will ask me kind of constantly is how do you put out so much? And the secret is, one, I never stop writing, and two, I have a partner named Josh Palmer who everyone assumes that everything he writes I write. so it looks like even more than what's actually coming out. And so that's my process, is just don't slow down, don't stop. If you get stuck, don't wait for an idea to come to you. Go to the next thing, and an idea will hopefully come to you before you get back to it.
Yeah, I should really try that. That sounds like a good way to get around the anxiety and the writer's block. Is all right, this isn't working. Go over in this avenue and try something different. So that is a good idea. Now, you've dabbled in fiction a little bit, right? I know you guys did an anthology a few years ago for your superhero release. Are you coming back?
Correct. Yeah. We did an anthology for Vigilante City, which was Tales from Vigilante City, and that was a stretch goal for the Vigilante City Kickstarter, and it was one that I was happy to put out. It didn't go as huge as I would like, but getting back to some just straight up fiction is actually something that is on our docket for 2022. That's where I started writing. I've been a writer all my life. Since I was a little boy, I would write Batman and Spider-Man stories and stuff, and He-Man stories. And
we were just talking about He-Man in kind of ridiculous depth before you got on.
Yeah, I know. I caught the end of it. I wanted to jump in and be like, no, it was good, damn it. but but I didn't. I got on just a smidge too late. But yeah, so I always wrote stories, and that's what led me to RPGs. Is when I started playing RPGs, immediately I started thinking of, well, if you're playing Rifts, well, sure, you could play Aliens. Why couldn't you play Aliens, or why couldn't you play Stargate using the Rifts rules? And so I started house ruling stuff and writing up homebrewing stuff, and then many years later, I figured out that I could actually publish some of this stuff if I wanted to, and that's how I got to where I am. But I've never lost the love or for writing stories, and I still write stories. And like I said, getting back to fiction, something we plan to do, and even some nonfiction books. My writing partner Josh Palmer is, he's very big into like cryptozoology and stuff like that, and so we got some plans for nonfiction stuff as well.
Yeah, I think as you guys find out on a recent release or a year or two ago, there's a huge and sometimes concerningly enthusiastic audience for cryptozoology stuff.
Yes, yeah. Some people, some people really want to know the secrets and believe that you have it because you made a game about it. Yeah, definitely.
What was the weirdest, like somebody called or sent you a note and you were just like, is this real? Am I being punked? Well, like somebody wanting to know like where Bigfoot was or anything.
Exactly. By far, the weirdest was I had put in the game, in the design of the game, the layout, we used redaction lines. Now, there was nothing actually behind the redaction lines that were there. They were there for style and to make them look like an FBI file. And I had somebody who was very, very persistent that they needed to know the information that was redacted, because I knew where Bigfoot was, and they went to like the top people at Drive Through RPG, and it became a whole thing. Yeah. And so I will never put redaction in any of my books ever again.
Are you kidding? That is the greatest advertisement ever.
I was about to say that. Why aren't you using that as part of your advertising campaign?
It became a nightmare. There was a while there where people were, certain people in power, I won't name any companies, but were telling me that I was going to have to one-off make this guy a book with writing in the redaction to satisfy him. It became quite the headache for me. So.
Okay.
Wow, because I did a cryptids book for Superpowered Legends, and no one did any of this for me. So
you didn't put the
Did you redact it though?
No, apparently I needed to put the redaction stuff in. That's where I failed.
I know, and we did something. There was a Kickstarter very recently for the Tabletops and Tentacles issue 3, which is going to be their cryptid issue, and we had some of our stuff featured in there, but they were doing a whole Kickstarter and issue on cryptids, and I really wanted to be like, be careful what you're stepping into here, because it may be more of a headache than you wish, but it looks like that their product's going to be pretty awesome too. So shout out to them.
Mike, you're muted.
Sorry, Bigfoot came on, clicked my mute button when I wasn't looking. I'm going to be fighting the urge to put redactions in lots of my writing in the future. But so someone was insinuating to you that you should just write this guy a book to get him to stop complaining. That is amazing to me, Eric. I hadn't heard that part of the story before. That's
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It was almost the straw that broke the camel's back of the, well, I'm no longer publishing RPGs type of thing. So, but that was a few years ago, and I'm very glad that that's all behind me now.
Yeah,
that I can laugh about it.
If you need to, JR and I have PhDs in profanity. We can write any sort of cease and desist letter you want.
Yeah, it actually got to be just a little bit scary. The guy sent me a screenshot of my address, which yeah. So it got like out of control, and people who were fans of mine had started trying to defend me online, which I always say if anybody's bullying Bloat Games or saying bad things about us, let them say it. It's free publicity. But so some people had went after him, and he had threatened to. It was a nightmare situation. That again, I'm glad it's way behind me.
I'm gonna guess he is one of the 12 people that showed up at Area 51.
I'm going to guess you're probably 100% right on that.
I love how Walt insinuated that intimidation is a cease and desist letter. I love that description of it.
I mean, how else would you describe it?
I've never heard it like that, but it's perfect.
I can see J.R. Walt showing up in that guy's door just wearing suits going, it'd be a shame if we had to make you cease and desist.
That's totally going in the book.
Here, I call my writ of habeas corpus.
He's habeas, the dog is corpus. You pick.
There's like 6 more lawyer puns that I'm fighting not to make, so...
That's awesome.
Ryan, how is the Jade Punk fiction going? Since we're talking about RPGs and fiction, I know you talked about doing some stuff for Vela, maybe, or exploring that. How's that going for you?
Oh, is that still a thing?
I'm asking you. Is that still a thing?
I do remember. I told you I was going to write that. So actually, I was working on my newest work in progress that I'm actually having progress on. So it's excellent. But I was working on that, and my wife comes over my shoulder and said, "This doesn't look like Jade Punk." And I was like, "What the? I haven't written for Jade Punk in like 7 years." But she remembered too, and this was like 2 days ago. And I said, "Well,
it's a sign."
Yeah, I guess so. There were some percentage things that I didn't want to write for Jade Punk much because I would owe a rather large percentage to somebody who's not going to do anything. But I also decided, well, he was super cool, so I wouldn't mind giving him some money. But I would want to finish the one I'm actually, for the first time in a long time, progressing, and then go back to J-Punk. So,
what are you working on?
It is called Myth Touched Shadow's Edge, and Shadow is SHADEUX because I looked up that parkour has a dark side called Darkcore, and it's like people who do criminal shit, and just so that people will chase them. And it's super punny and funny, but also kind of cool that you can play in fiction with parkours like a Jedi, Sith kind of light side. And so what they call, if you do Darkcore, since you do it at night, Darkcore, they call them shadows. And I was like, ooh.
So you had me at Dark Horror. When's this shit hitting? Because I need to dump my wallet all over it.
My drop deadline for me is the end of September. So, so it's called Shadow's Edge as kind of a pun on Mirror's Edge, the video game that's all parkoured up. Right and on. I'm adding a huge element of voodoo magic from like a paranormal thing, because the Myth Touched, I have an idea for like a bigger universe, and I figured this will just be the start of that.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So when can we read that? You said September?
My goal is to finish it by the end of September, like have it out by the end of September.
Okay. And what we're doing, an associated RPG via Walt Studio or what?
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. If the RPG comes, it's definitely that route. Right. I don't publish anymore, so I would go through Walt.
I understand. You probably don't want to LARP just for the liability reasons.
You don't have to roll for the acrobatics check. You have to do the acrobatics check.
Damn, Skippy.
So that was one of the hard parts for me, was like, how is the parkour going to be relevant to the story? Because usually parkour are just little elements in a story, but it's not the focus of it. And that's why I wanted to add the magic, because the super parkour, the empowered parkour becomes important. And so it would actually make good RPG. Probably.
That is a pretty cool idea.
Like I said, you had me at Dark Horror.
Dark Horror.
Awesome.
That sounds like a Christian Slater vehicle, doesn't it? Okay. JR, how about you, sir? I know life's been chaotic for you lately. How's the writing going?
I am 40,000 words into the novel I am co-writing with James M. Ward. It's basically a modern striker brigade gets sent back to fantasy Egypt, and shenanigans ensue. And it's definitely interesting. So I'm learning more about Magic than I ever wanted to know from James. And all the things about Egypt that he learned along the way. He's like, it's a lot of fun. I'm having fun. We've sent it out to a couple beta readers to make sure the intro really kicked, and we get sort of hate mail about, why are you leaving me at chapter 8? I want more, you asshole. So that's always a good sign.
Is this James Ward? Did he used to run a community on Google Plus?
He used to write for TSR.
Yeah, he used to write for TSR. He wrote Deities and Demigods.
Okay, but he didn't run like a writer's community.
He might have. I don't know.
Oh, okay. There was a Ward that did that. I really liked him, and I haven't seen him since Google Plus fell. So I was curious.
I don't even know what Google Plus is, so I will smile and nod.
Oh wow.
Well, okay.
Ryan, I have to give you major props, because you don't say that Google Plus went away or it became defunct. You said Google Plus fell like a fallen empire, and I love you for that.
And that's what it is. That was the best social media to have ever existed.
Yes, magic item dominance.
Okay, this is an inside joke. You have to explain this to me.
Okay, so
no, we don't. Nope.
Just go watch the
Off
episode
air.
on Old School.
Yep.
Okay.
We'll talk about it off the air.
One thing is learning about translating between words, because James uses Word 97 still.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay.
Yeah, that was the reaction I had, Ryan.
Yeah. That's
I was muted, but I said, "Holy shit!"
Yeah. For those who don't know, James Ward, he's kind of an OG game designer from the TSR days. Deities and Demigods. For any of you kids, that was like the coolest TSR book at one point when it came out. Not just because there were boobies, but because, hey, you had stats for Thor, you had stats for Odin, you had stats for the earliest edition had Cthulhu. So yeah, that was fun stuff. Remember,
And some of the Michael Moorcock stuff too.
Had
Stormbringer.
Stormbringer and Elric in there. I've still got my copy of that, and I treasure it. It's all beat up to hell, but it's mine.
Yeah, if you can find a print copy of that in like mint condition, several $100.
There was a local game store in was it Norfolk, I think, Virginia, that was selling one that was still in the shrink wrap for like $1,000, and they said they were undervaluing it when I called them.
There is a serious collector's market for that kind of stuff. Hey, I found the cover. I forget was.
So I wonder if you could skip skip all that, just release one to look old, and then sell it for a lot of money, and skip the whole middle ground. Is that possible?
No, that's how you go to jail, bro.
Is it that?
It is possible to make a book and have it look old. I know, because I did the cover for a fake 1980s RPG for a Zombie Orpheus movie. And when they pulled the book out with my cover art on it, it looked like one of the old beat up first edition books. They just aged it, and they opened it up, and you saw the pages inside, and it looked all coffee stained and crappy. Their prop department did a great job.
Outstanding.
Was that from Evil Hat?
No, this was a film company called Zombie Orpheus Entertainment. It was for the gamers, the Shadow Menace.
Okay, you said Fate. I thought it was Evil, because Evil Hat does a lot of creative things like that.
No, I don't do anything with Evil Hat and Fate.
All right. Well, hey, I'm getting paid to go back into a meeting at my dreary day job, so I might have to cut things short. Just a reminder, check out Bloat Games, Survive This, The Blackest Space on Drive Thru RPG now. The link will be in the show notes. It's in the comments, and it's a banner right there if you want to check it out. And there is that awesome Phil Stone cover with the tentacle guy, the undiplomatic tentacle guy. And Eric, any closing thoughts, sir, before we wrap it up and call it a podcast?
No, just thank you for having me on again. It was fun. When y'all do another He-Man chat, bring me back in, because I got some strong opinions about that.
We haven't actually had our first He-Man chat.
We need to talk about He-Man.
Let's do this.
I need to watch it.
All right, I can just go work over here on this laptop, and you guys can just have this.
We don't even have to discuss any of the new shows. It's like, I'll just talk about the Masters of the Universe franchise and everything, and gush.
When I was going through my compulsion to animate old posters and book covers, and The guy who did a lot of the art for Masters of the Universe, like the magazine back in the day, he was also doing a lot of the G.I. Joe stuff.
Mhm.
Oh god, amazing pulp artist. He got started doing the old paperbacks, and yeah, there's some really high quality art when what was kind of a crappy, kids toy line. But I have never really I understood Transformers because they're robots and they're cars, and how can you get around how cool that is for a little kid? I never quite understood. I never got He-Man. Can you guys explain it to me before we wrap up?
Power fantasy.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, that's really what it
Only
is.
for kids.
Skinny kids can be strong and powerful with just touching a sword and screaming in the air.
Okay, that's cool. I'm not going to get Freudian, even though I'm tempted. We'll just leave it at that.
I actually like the I like the original He-Man that was bundled in the comics with the original characters. That was my favorite. I like that more than the cartoon. I was very weirded out when the cartoon came out, and I'm like, "Who's this twit?"
Yeah, it's well, I mean, the cartoon is very obviously for 6 to 8 year olds, and the comic books and the action figures were a little more, they were written by guys our age probably, so they had that kind of vocabulary. So, all right, you guys ready for the musical outro?
Do it.
Okay, 1 second. Let's play a little bit longer. Just it's growing on me. It's growing on me. All right. Hey, thanks for coming out, Eric, JR, Brian, Walt, Jacob. Nice to have all you guys on. And to our viewers and listeners, we will catch you next time on the BAMP Podcast.